As one of the defining family sitcoms of the 1980s, Who's the Boss was a reliable source of laughter and hugs for 8 seasons on ABC. The show was a ratings hit throughout most of its 1984 to 1992 run, thanks in no small part to its hilarious cast.
Angela, what is the problem?
The problem is, Mother, you sent me a man for a housekeeper.
Oh, don't be sexist. A man can do meaningless, unproductive work just as well as a woman.
Tony Danza, Judith Light, Katherine Helmond, Alyssa Milano, and Danny Pintaro were everywhere during the 1980s, gracing magazine covers, appearing on game shows, and hosting TV specials. Alyssa Milano even recorded several albums. She's a certified platinum recording artist in Japan. And maybe you had her workout video, Teen Steam. So it's no surprise that the producers of Who's the Boss tried to use the hit show to launch spin-offs. 3 episodes of Who's the Boss served as backdoor pilots for potential spin-offs. Which cast member almost got their own show? And what future superstars were part of the Who's the Boss verse? Find out on Behind the Backdoor Pilot, Who's the Boss? The brainchild of veteran sitcom writers Martin Cohen and Blake Hunter, Who's the Boss was a staple of ABC's family sitcom lineup. Fun fact, the original title was You're the Boss, playing on the gender role reversal premise of a male housekeeper and his female boss. But the creators settled on a title that left some ambiguity as to who was actually the boss.
Welcome to a critical analysis of Who's the Boss. And I'd like to begin with a simple question. Who was the boss?
Who's the Boss was so popular, it was adapted into the British sitcom, The Upper Hand. There were also German and Polish versions of Tony, Angela, and the rest. As season 2 of Who's the Boss drew to a close, the producers decided to try for a spin-off with a backdoor pilot episode about a mismatched pair of young working women. Backdoor pilots are TV's sneaky way of disguising a pilot for a potential new series under the guise of a seemingly normal episode of a hit show. Airing a backdoor pilot at the end of a season is a typical TV cost-cutting measure. The show's main cast typically sits the episode out in favor of new characters played by guest actors. The episode Charmed Live starts like any other Who's the Boss episode, with Tony seeing Angela off on a business trip to San Francisco.
Back me a nightgown?
Your flannel PJs, the snuggly ones with the feet.
Angela's career as a high-powered advertising executive serves as a setup for the backdoor pilot. In Charmed Lives, Angela is in charge of picking the new Princess Vianelli, the spokesmodel for a Chef Boyardee-esque food brand. Tony suggests she use a Maselli.
You don't like this cousin? I got another cousin. She's half as heavy. Of course, she's a little shorter.
And that's the last we see of Tony and Mona for the rest of the episode. The bulk of the episode takes place in San Francisco, where we meet the 2 stars of the proposed Charmed Lives spin-off. Meet Lauren, an aspiring photographer hoping to work on the Vianelli brand.
But I made an appointment. See? 9 o'clock.
Now it doesn't.
Lauren is played by Donna Dixon, who starred on Bosom Buddies and in films like Spies Like Us, opposite her then-husband, Dan Aykroyd. She's also Garth's dream woman in Wayne's World. Angela's pick for Princess Vianelli arrives, and holy cannoli, it's the nanny!
I'm Joyce Columbus.
Who?
I'm Princess Vianelli.
Yes, before she was the fashion girl from Flushing on The Nanny, Fran Drescher appeared twice on the 2nd season of Who's the Boss as 2 completely different characters. Both roles utilized Drescher's sense of style. In episode 4 of season 2, The Heiress, Fran played Mona's interior decorator, Carol.
Mona, this place is simply not you. Who designed it?
Me.
The producers liked Fran so much, they brought her back for the Charmed Lives backdoor pilot episode at the end of season 2. Which makes sense, as Drescher was an up-and-coming talent in the 80s, having appeared in Spinal Tap.
Yes, Bobby Blackman.
Bobby, of course. How are you?
We know.
And opposite Donna Dixon in the Dan Aykroyd pimp comedy, Dr. Detroit. Yes, Charmed Lives was a Dr. Detroit reunion. Joyce wows Mr. Vianelli with her effervescent Fran Drescher charm.
I like this girl. She has a fine sense of humor.
All right.
But then Lauren bursts in, demanding the photographer gig. And like every other old white guy in an 80s sitcom, Mr. Vianelli is struck with a sudden case of hot blonde-itis.
That's the girl. That's Princess Vianelli.
No, this is the girl.
This is the girl.
Needing money, Lauren reluctantly takes the Princess Vianelli gig.
I don't want to be a model.
Right, it's sexist, demeaning. People only want you for your body. Luckily, that appeals to me.
And Joyce doesn't get the job, the fancy apartment, or the designer clothes.
Oh, I'm such a loser.
Later at the photo shoot, Lauren is not having a great time as the new Princess Vianelli.
Take the noodles out and rub them all over your...
Joyce arrives and demands the Princess Vianelli job. Who are we kidding here? Clearly, it should be Fran Drescher.
I'm going to sue you for $32 million for breach of implied contract.
Dump the blonde.
You got it.
We get a sense of the Tony and Angela type comedic dynamic Joyce and Lauren would have had in the spin-off.
Oh, to heck with you all.
Did she say heck?
I'm afraid she did.
There's even a Who's the Boss-ish kitchen scene where the pair argue.
You take anything you want anyway.
Oh, no, the peasants are revolting.
And make up over a sandwich.
I need the job and you need the job. What are we going to do?
Joyce, Lauren, and Angela then hatch a plan.
I want you to open your mind to a new concept in packaging. The Vianelli twins.
Hey, it's the 80s. Twins were all the rage in advertising. Mr. Vianelli likes the idea.
Now I'm getting 2 for the price of 1.
And Angela lays out the ground rules of the Charmed Lives spin-off.
Just remember, you're going to have to share everything, the apartment and the job and all the fringe benefits.
Deal?
Deal.
By the way, this is pretty much the only thing Angela does in an episode of her own show. It's also too bad we never got a scene with Fran Drescher and Tony Danza. That would be an epic match of New York attitude.
Oh, Angela.
Okay, oh.
The episode ends with Joyce and Lauren as friends, co-workers, and roommates. A regular Laverne and Shirley for the high-fashion 80s.
Okay, now we need to come up with a schedule.
Schedule?
2 girls, 1 bathroom.
Right.
How long does it take you to put your makeup on?
I really don't believe in makeup.
You know, if you keep this up, I'm going to be your only friend.
Fran Drescher and Donna Dixon make for a fun pair, and ABC agreed, at least at first. 4 episodes of Charmed Lives were filmed, though there's some debate as to whether they actually aired. Charmed Lives wasn't part of ABC's 1986 fall schedule, or included in the network promo where all the casts of ABC's shows hang out together. Hey, it's Tony Danza! Some people claim to have watched Charmed Lives, but they might be remembering the Who's the Boss episode. Or maybe they're confusing Charmed Lives with Princesses, Fran Drescher's short-lived pre-nanny CBS sitcom that was also about stylish roommates in the big city. Could Charmed Lives be another example of the Mandela effect? Like Shazam Kazam?
I am Shazam!
Or in this case, the Nandela effect. Creepy. Let us know in the comments if you remember watching Charmed Lives in the 80s. But whether or not it actually aired, Charmed Lives never took off as a Who's the Boss spinoff. Things worked out just fine for Fran Drescher, who became a superstar thanks to another show about a no-nonsense household domestic and the uptight boss she loves.
Oh my God, it's me!
Who's the Boss executive producers Robert Sternin and Prudence Frazier were also behind The Nanny. Fran Drescher and Donna Dixon remained friends, and Dixon showed up on an episode of The Nanny.
I just love you.
Well, then we have a lot in common.
The pals also reminisced about their Dr. Detroit days on Fran's talk show.
We played hookers with a heart of gold.
While Lauren and Joyce's lives post Who's the Boss weren't charmed, Fran and Donna's friendship remains strong today. A year later, Who's the Boss tried for another spinoff. This time, the focus was on fan favorite Mona, played by the late, great Katherine Helmond. A respected star of stage and screen, Helmond came to Who's the Boss having starred as Jessica Tate in the hit series Soap.
You know, Jody, when we were younger, there was no such thing as homosexuals.
And in several Terry Gilliam films, so it makes sense the network would want her in her own show. The spinoff would have seen Mona leave Connecticut to run a New York City hotel with a brand new character, her brother Cornelius. To set up this potential spinoff, the Who's the Boss writers penned a backdoor pilot at the end of season 3 that sent Mona to the Big Apple. The episode Mona, which also would have been the title of the spinoff, kicks off with a black and white flashback to 1941? Is this Who's the Boss or Quantum Leap? We meet young Mona, played by a pre-Full House Candace Cameron. Katherine Hellman plays Mona's mom. This is getting pretty meta. The flashback establishes Mona and Cornelius' relationship, with Mona being the more level-headed of the two. Young Cornelius then flies like Superman and... Wait, what is going on here? Turns out this flashback is a dream Mona had because she's going to visit Cornelius in New York City.
How long has it been since you two got together?
Well, it must be over 3 years.
Gee, Mona, that's a long time not to see your own brother.
No, it's just about right.
In typical backdoor pilot fashion, this brief kitchen scene is the last we see of Tony, Angela, and Samantha for the rest of the episode. The episode then moves to New York City and the Hotel Nottingham, where we meet the wacky characters that would have been part of the Mona spinoff. There's Don, the hapless concierge.
Do we get to see the Statue of Liberty?
What for? It's on every postcard. Believe me, you're gonna have a great time in the South Bronx.
He's played by Joe Regal-Buto, who you might recognize from Murphy Brown and Street Hawk. Kitty, the no-nonsense desk clerk.
Don, you have no class.
Packard, the goofy bellhop.
You know what? They once made a movie here.
What was it, The Shining?
And Tessie, the head housekeeper.
I'm Mona, old blood and guts sister.
Oh, yeah. I see the resemblance.
Tessie is played by Billy Bird, who you probably recognize from pretty much every movie and TV show from the 1980s and 90s. We then meet grown-up Cornelius, played by James B. Sicking, a TV vet known for roles on Hill Street Blues and Doogie Howser. Cornelius reveals he owns the Hotel Nottingham.
What is the big surprise?
You're standing in it.
Which turns out to be a money pit. Huh, kind of like that movie that came out a year before this episode. Cornelius plans on running the hotel with Mona, who is none too happy about it.
Yes, that's the other surprise. I put your savings in it, too.
You put my savings in this...
This episode is a treat for fans of Mona's eye rolls. Cornelius wants to return the hotel to its former glory.
This hotel used to be great, and it could be great again.
So Mona brings some old-school charm to the dump. Mona agrees to partner up with Cornelius.
There may be room for a silent partner in this establishment.
Me? Silent? No way.
And the staff celebrates with a big dance party.
Mona, I know what you're doing.
The plan was that should the Mona spinoff go to series, scripts would focus on the eccentric guests of the Hotel Nottingham. As Katherine Hellman told the Sun Sentinel in 1987, so many nuts can come and go. According to another interview with Katherine Hellman, the actress was planning to star on both Who's the Boss and Mona at the same time. Hellman will continue her role as the wisecracking mom on Who's the Boss next season regardless. If anyone could have pulled off that double duty, it's Hellman. The season 3 finale of Who's the Boss dealt with Mona's departure.
I cannot believe she's moving.
Yeah, the hot tomato goes to the Big Apple.
With Tony moving into her empty apartment to live the swinging bachelor life. Ultimately, ABC decided that Katherine Hellman was too important to Who's the Boss to lose to a spinoff. So the Mona show wasn't picked up for the 1987 fall season.
You're not leaving, are you? I was only meant to be here for the weekend.
The season finale was quickly rewritten after the spinoff was canned, with Mona back at the Bower House and the hotel plotline wrapped up in a couple of lines.
Mother, what are you doing here? Why aren't you at the hotel?
My brother and I have finally come to an agreement. We disagree about everything.
Whew. The Who's the Boss writers really Armin Tamzarian'd their way out of that one.
And I further decree that everything will be just like it was before all this happened, and no one will ever mention it again.
Sadly, we never learned what happened to the weird bellhop's crush on the desk clerk. Had Mona gone to series, it wouldn't have been the first sitcom about a rundown hotel and its quirky staff. The Chicago Tribune noted similarities between the Mona spinoff and Hot L Baltimore, a short-lived ABC sitcom which starred James Cromwell and Conchata Ferrell. A few years later, the Golden Girls spinoff, The Golden Palace, would try a similar premise with Blanche, Rose, and Sophia running a hotel with Cheech Marin and Don Cheadle. Perhaps in an alternate universe, this Who's the Boss spinoff was picked up, and there's a version of Mona who stayed at the Hotel Nottingham forever.
You know what? They once made a movie here.
What was it, The Shining?
In 1989, Who's the Boss took one more swing at a spinoff. You can tell it's 1989 by the size of Angela's shoulder pads. In the season 5 episode Living Dolls, Sam heads to the Big Apple to write an article for her school paper. The subject? Models. And that thin premise is all the Who's the Boss writers needed to launch a spin-off about a group of young models who live with their modeling agent / mother figure. After breakfast, the Who's the Boss cast steps aside for a brand new cast of characters. There's Trish, the head of the modeling agency, played by Miss Michael Learned of the Waltons fame. She was also in that headache ad that was on all the time.
So you and Angela were sorority sisters?
Yeah.
Aw, the old friend of one of the lead characters spin-off trick. The writers also introduce an old friend of Sam's to further connect Living Dolls to Who's the Boss. Meet Streetwise Charlie, played by future King of Queens star Leah Remini.
Apartment 4B. Miss Sellers? I don't believe it.
Charlie is like the mirror universe version of Sam. She's the Sam who didn't get to move to a fancy house in the burbs.
My mom? My mom. Oh, let's see. She's done with husband number 3, moved on to boyfriend number 6.
The rest of the models fit classic sitcom types. There's naive Martha, played by the Spitfire Grill star Allison Elliott.
My dating experience is a little bit limited.
How limited?
I went to the movies once with my brother.
Vain Caroline, played by Melissa Willis.
Why, Ricky, I had no idea you were here.
And Studious Emily, played by Vivica A. Fox.
That good-for-nothing dog of yours got his little ass in the living room and acted a damn fool.
There's also Trish's son Rick, played by Jonathan Ward, who you might recognize as the older brother from Mac and Me.
Where'd he come from? Wait a minute, this is what they were looking for back at the accident.
The Rick scenes lean hard into 80s summer camp comedy. And since it's the height of the 80s aerobics craze, Samantha interviews the models while they're Jane Fonda-ing it up.
How many girls live here? And what do you guys do about school?
How much cocaine do you have for breakfast? Charlie and Trish clash over schoolwork.
How's the sociology paper coming along? Look, it'll get done soon. Then you can have the full army of little moneymakers out there working for you.
And inviting over guys who are straight out of a high school production of Grease.
You're trying to turn me into one of your little goody two-shoes Barbie dolls. There are certain rules you've got to follow if you're going to live here.
Wait, who's actually the boss here? Charlie's all, I'm out of here.
I don't need this hassle. I'm going home.
But by the end of the episode, she realizes living in a modeling agency isn't so bad.
I taught you to follow through. Now you need to teach me about survival in the big city.
The episode sets up a spin-off with the signature Who's the Boss heart and dated model jokes. And while no one is actually sure if Charmed Lives aired, Living Dolls definitely did. The theme song had strong Maybe It's Maybelline vibes. The freshman sitcom even got the plum post-Mr. Belvedere slot.
Living Dolls premieres at its regular time right after Mr. Belvedere, Saturday.
But when Living Dolls went to series, the network made some major changes. Living Dolls was the brainchild of the Facts of Life producer Ross Brown, and the network wanted the new show to be The Facts of Life with Prettier Girls. Harsh. When test audiences didn't respond well to the Who's the Boss backdoor pilot episode, the network recast several roles. Jonathan Ward was out as Rick, with David Moscow of Big and Newsies fame taking over the token male role. Melissa Willis was replaced by Deborah Tucker from TV's Dallas, with Caroline suddenly going from a blonde to a redhead. And in the biggest casting surprise, Vivica A. Fox was replaced by Halle Berry? Yes, Living Dolls was the Oscar winner's acting debut. ABC introduced the Living Dolls cast as Samantha's friends.
Her name is Caroline Weldon. Guys are crazy about her.
The Who's the Boss gang helped launch Living Dolls with Sam and Tony popping in the first 2 episodes. Leah Remini and Michael Learned appeared on Who's the Boss the same night that Living Dolls premiered. To give Living Dolls a fresh start, the writers retconned the storyline from the backdoor pilot episode. In the Who's the Boss episode Life's a Ditch, Charlie and Trish meet for the first time at the Bauer Maselli house. Except fans know Charlie and Trish were already acquainted last season.
Huh?
Charlie leaves home to crash at the Bauer Masellis because her mom neglects her.
But Lorraine, this is your daughter you're talking about.
And she has no other family.
She have any other relatives?
Yeah, she has one, but he's a horse's behind. He works in a traveling circus and he plays the backside of a horse.
Where does he put his head?
Who's the Boss making a human centipede joke before Human Centipede? Edgy.
Oh boy, it doesn't get any better than this.
Luckily, Charlie's good at modeling.
Do you think Charlie would be interested in becoming a model? Well, take a look for yourself. The camera really loves this girl.
So, Trish invites her to live at the Living Dolls house.
You can live with me and the other new models, and I'll train you.
This retcon makes Charlie's backstory much darker. In the Living Dolls backdoor pilot episode, Charlie finds a family at the modeling agency as a way to escape her troubled home. In Life's a Ditch, Tony and Angela basically give Charlie to a modeling agency instead of taking her in.
Is it a deal?
All right, stop twisting my arm.
Go get your stuff.
Go get your stuff.
Life's a Ditch ends with Sam going to New York City as a bridge to the first episode of Living Dolls. To get viewers up to speed, the first episode of Living Dolls uses almost exactly the same script from the Who's the Boss backdoor pilot with rehashed scenes.
This is the exercise room. I don't use it myself, but it's important that the girls stay trimmed. And this is the exercise room. I never use it myself.
And recycled jokes.
Martha, could you return my library books? I would have done it yesterday, but I had to get my hair done so it looked more
blonde.
Martha, could you return my library books? I would have done it yesterday, but I had to get my hair done so that it could be more
red.
Trim dip, a non-fat artificial sour cream-like substance. Keep away from open flames.
Sam meets the models again, and Sam is still writing her article for the school paper. She's the Woodward and Bernstein of teen model exposés. Unfortunately, Living Dolls was rife with behind-the-scenes drama. According to Living Dolls producer R.J. Collery, the young cast didn't get along, and the writing staff never gelled. Michael Learned says ABC never figured out if her character was supposed to be a tough boss or a wholesome TV mother figure like Mrs. Garrett. And that led to Learned being replaced by an actual TV mom.
I think had the show not been canceled, they probably would have replaced me with Marion Ross.
Yes, Marion Ross, aka Mrs. C from Happy Days, appeared on the final 2 episodes as Trish's sister when Trish was away.
I've left a list of chores for everyone to do while I'm away.
Finally, the models get to eat. Marion Ross played a character named Marion. Hey, it worked for Tony. The episode that introduced Marion has a plotline where wholesome Martha almost becomes an escort.
Come to New York, Trish says. All you have to do is water the plants, answer the phone, save a girl from a desperate band of sex maniacs.
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
80s sitcoms are messed up. With this casting change, Living Dolls finally mimicked The Facts of Life. You remember when Charlotte Rae left The Facts of Life and Cloris Leachman joined the show as Mrs. Garrett's sister? But the wholesome recasting was too little, too late.
I like this woman.
So do I.
The backstage problems resulted in low ratings and harsh press. And after 12 episodes, Living Dolls was canceled. While it was short-lived, fans remember Living Dolls and its fresh-faced cast fondly. In 2019, Leah Remini shared memories of her and Halle Berry's first starring roles. In 1991, Who's the Boss moved from its cushy Tuesday night time slot to Saturdays.
Who's the Boss is up next. They've got laughs and much more.
Tony and the gang joined Growing Pains, Perfect Strangers, and the cartoon Capital Critters as part of ABC's short-lived TGIF offshoot, I Love Saturday Night. Yes, even TGIF had a failed spin-off. Now up against the Golden Girls, ratings dwindled. In April of 1992, Who's the Boss said farewell after 8 seasons. In the hour-long finale, Tony has to choose between Angela and a new job. Spoiler alert for a 30-year-old episode of TV, he picks Angela! But in the current TV reboot era, beloved shows never actually go away. A new Who's the Boss series will be coming soon to Amazon Freevee. The new show follows Tony and grown-up Sam, now a single mom living in the family home. TV legend Norman Lear is behind the Who's the Boss reboot, even though he had nothing to do with the original. Hey Norm, bring back Leah Remini and Fran Drescher. The road to a spinoff may have been rocky, but for Who's the Boss, there's a brand new life around the bend. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Atomic Abe and hit the bell notification for more episodes of Behind the Backdoor Pilot, like our look at the episode of The Nanny that tried to launch a spin-off episode for the wacky characters at Fran's salon.
What's new, pussycat? Whoa, 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 whoa.